coming to you from the Edge Podcast Studios at South Mountain, Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the Edge Podcast with Mike G. Buckle up, Edge Nation. It's about to get real.
Welcome to the Edge Podcast. This is Mike G. And today I have in studio a very special man from New York City. His name is Omrupani. And Om is he's a master at dominant and submissive relationships. Also, you teach BDSM and some other aspects of that world, correct?
I do. I teach sensuality classes that are a little different from BDSM, but I also teach workshops in BDSM.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to get to actually delve into that world a little bit, and we're going to be able to spend some time with Om as he describes in I hope detail some of the benefits, right, that come along with play and maybe an introduction to dominant submissive relationships or power exchanges. So, and thank you. Welcome to the Edge Podcast. It's great to have you here. So I'm okay. So I'm kind of a shoe-in, right? Like I'm a little bit of a what's the word I want to look for? I kind of not a mark. I'm like the guy that I've already been through like some I guess coaching with you,
right?
And phenomenal coaching. I mean, for what we needed, from my girlfriend and I needed, we really had to have that conversation. And I mean, you were laser accurate in just the way you delivered. And I'm not going to share with everybody on the podcast today what we talked about.
So I get to share everything with you.
So I was going to share all that, and it's just fascinating. Again, how you got involved in this world and lifestyle. Can you tell us a little bit about, just your relationship and how that started out?
It started very slow. It started very steadily. We were looking, I should call her wife at this point. It's been 27 years, but we're not married. So my girlfriend and I, so we were looking for ways to enhance our sensuality. We started doing workshops like so many people do, like you have done.
Right.
And we found Tantra workshops in New York City, other practices, and then eventually kind of stumbled onto BDSM in a very, not in any kind of a huge way. My entrance into it, my actually tipping point into it was just the aesthetics of it. I'm a photographer.
Oh, okay.
So at some point I looked at pictures of bondage and it looked very, very beautiful. So just the thought occurred, it would be great to be able to do that rope work and take pictures.
Yeah.
So
and you do rope work. What's that work called?
Bondage, just rope bondage.
Okay.
Right. So I took a class in it and learned some basic stuff, came home and tried it. And then the response I got to tying my woman in rope was really what shifted my mind, because I thought it was just either decorative or I didn't actually know what the point was, what the headspace was that this can create. So once I got an experience of it, once she got an experience of it, once there was an exchange of that kind of started opening up a world of what the possibilities are, what different places we can go to together, and how this can really create a whole other dimension of sensuality and play between two people.
That's awesome. And the other night you came into town really to do a couple workshops and to do some coaching.
Yeah.
And the workshop that I got to experience with you was the power dynamic of dominant and submissive. Right. I think an introduction to it, right? And so who introduced you to that world? Like when who introduced you?
I think it was just me seeking workshop after workshop and reading. It's just pursuing my curiosity. I don't think I had one single mentor in this realm. It was kind of the self-education. Yeah. Once you catch the scent of something, like just a feeling like there's more here for me. So once I got that feeling, it was just pursuing it more and more on my own.
And now what's going on? So that happened over a slow...
It happened actually pretty fast, because once I stepped into it, I discovered my dominant archetype very quickly. I realized I kind of have a natural gift for holding this particular space.
Well, talk about that. What is a dominant?
I think a dominant at his or her core is someone who really enjoys taking somebody on a ride.
Okay. All right.
Gets off on it. Gets off himself or herself on taking control over somebody's system and giving them a pleasurable, enjoyable, transformative ride.
Mm. And that can happen in many different ways, obviously.
It can.
And when you're talking with people that are interested in something like this, or they're just kind of like me, I dabbled for a little while, but I think like you, I kind of dove in at one point and said, this is something that I really am interested in, you know.
Right.
So as a
Well, I would guess for you also, I'm sure you discovered you're good at handling people.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure that's a trigger for most people.
Yeah.
That you're good at handling them, you want to get better at it, and you have a genuine get off
Mm-hmm.
when you create those good responses and reactions in the people you're handling, your lovers, your playmates.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
Well, and the get off, I guess, is the payoff, and in those relationships that get stagnant.
Right.
Sometimes there's not enough attention played.
I think the biggest, I coach a lot of people these days, the biggest pain I see in people is that they're still friends, they still love each other,
Mm-hmm.
but they've kind of lost the ability to turn each other on. They don't know where to go anymore.
Oh, that's so good.
Right? They don't know how to, it's like they've lost the ignition switch a little bit.
Mm.
So it's not like the relationship is destroyed or they want to go apart.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not in Christ. Some of them might be. But there's also a very common story like that we have a life together.
Right.
We love each other. We care for each other. We don't want to fall apart, but we don't have to generate the heat anymore.
Yeah. That's
Right.
big. I think that, in just as an aside, I mean, I think that happens more often. It's way more common
Right.
than, and may even have something to do with why people don't stay together.
I think
in a
I've
big way.
kind of seen a cycle where the sex slows down,
Mm-hmm.
and that is kind of the central problem. But
Yeah.
because they don't know how to address it, it becomes a bigger and bigger problem.
You mentioned something the other night, and that was when couples are sitting in front of you, there's a certain commonality in their conversation with you.
Right.
You had said that the woman's kind of over here going, yeah, I think.
Yeah, the one thing I'm seeing over and over is, we still, I think, are in the myth that men want sex more than women do.
Mm-hmm. The myth.
I mean, there certainly has been this notion, at
Sure.
least in the past decades, and probably still in many parts of the world. But and I was okay with that myth. I'm like, maybe that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've been doing this work, since I've been teaching, since I've been coaching, it certainly is not panning out anecdotally.
Right.
And the people who are showing up
Yeah.
to see my work, I'm seeing an enormous amount of desire in women for this kind of play, for this kind of dynamic, especially.
What do you think is the thing that causes them to want to be a part of that play?
I don't know. I think that's like saying what is the core of our dominance and submissive archetype, and I really don't have that's almost like a God answer.
Oh, okay.
What I do know, it's
Yeah.
really more common than we would like to believe, or more common than we have given ourselves credit for.
Mm.
Yeah. One thing that is one of my little missions is to kind of dispel the notion that people who do this work or do this play are doing it out of some kind of it's some kind of a rebalancing act.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's very I think it's still a darling hypothesis of the psychologists who deal with this. When I read their books, it's like they still want to put a hand on your forearm and say, what happened to you that made you turn to BDSM? Right? And
Almost like there's something wrong with them.
I have come to feel this question is today's. In truth, it is as patronizing as if you were to go, I don't know, not necessarily in all places, but if you were to go in New York at a party and encounter a gay person and very gently ask them, what happened to you that turned you gay? That would be really not the good question to ask, at least in our society today, because we have kind of moved on from that.
Yeah.
We have that really isn't cool anymore.
Right.
But it seems okay for people to ask, what are you compensating for? Who hurt you? What trauma are you trying to cure? And it's like, it's not like people don't have trauma. People who have trauma have sex. People who have trauma are in BDSM. But I do not buy this hypothesis anymore that people who are into this play
Yeah.
are doing this because of some kind of a compensation, because something terrible happened to them. I'm finding this desire so universal.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm working on a book right now, and one of the chapters deals with this, what I just shared with you. The title of it is, at least the tentative title, Kink for Everyone.
I love it.
I don't think this is a peculiarity. I think, if anything, it is more like there is a gourmet level of sensuality.
Right.
You may not like oysters, you may not like caviar,
Mm-hmm.
but there is nothing wrong with you if you do. You don't have to be a peculiar person to have a wider palate or whatever else.
Right.
To me, it's more a matter of having a wider palate than some kind of compensation.
You know, and I wonder about the dynamic or the power dynamic in that, like how much of that plays a part. I mean,
power is overrated.
You know,
truly, power, in my opinion, is overrated.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people hear power, what they are actually thinking of is the everyday world. They're thinking of the newspaper.
Yeah.
When people think of power, they're thinking of one person having power and the other person being powerless.
That's true. Yeah.
That is not what BDSM is. That is not where BDSM really thrives.
Mm.
Yeah. In my view, and many people would agree with it probably, I think the central piece of a BDSM scene, a BDSM relationship, is the get off of the submissive.
Yeah.
So where does power come in? The Dom has the Dom has the power in the relating, in the scene, but if the entire purpose of the scene is the Dom may have that power so that he or she may create a beautiful ride for the submissive, that's a very different idea of power than what we believe it to be in everyday society, in where we think power is associated with oppression, with power is associated with one person having it, the other person not having it.
Yeah.
Power to me is it's like a good piece we play with. It's a play piece. You give it up voluntarily, you can take it back anytime. And if you can do that, is it really real?
Yeah.
Or is it merely one of the premises of the scene that you're in?
That's interesting. Well, in a scene, and I love the term scene. It really does almost say there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? Like that's what you would have in a scene of a movie.
That structure, yeah. I love the word and I love the idea, and I believe setting a time and a place aside and going into it deliberately, and having a beginning, middle, and end is a wonderful way to play. I think that structure itself creates a little formality between lovers that can raise the heat, the deliberateness.
How do you recommend setting up a scene?
Well, I can't answer that in a short question. You should at least come take a weekend workshop to get a full idea of that. I mean, I'm not quite sure how to give you a 1 or 2 sentence answer. I mean, it would start with two people really knowing each other.
Okay.
What your get off is, where you want to play, and then finding common ground, building from there. I mean, that would be the shortest answer I could give you.
Okay. Well, that works.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You're relating to a person, whether or not they're taking out the archetype
knowing the person, having skills to handle them well, finding common ground, and finding a place where you can play that is pleasurable to both of you. Is the kind of the foundational pieces.
Well, let's dig into a scene. I mean, what kind of kink are we talking about?
Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
I think to me that's personally is the less interesting part of the conversation. People do many things, and I'm not an expert in every single field of kink. Yeah, there are a few things I do. There are many things I don't do, and that's wonderful. And I may discover more things next year. To me, the foundational piece is the relating piece. The two people coming together, finding their common turn-ons,
right,
where they can play. There are many people who have common turn-ons which are very alien to my turn-on, and that's totally cool with me. But I think the fundamentals are always the same. That we have found a piece of eros we want to explore, and we want to explore it deliberately. And can I find a playmate who can play the complementary part with it?
Oh, wow, that's
right.
powerful.
If I let's take something very basic like spanking. Okay, everybody does at least a little bit of spanking. If I like giving spankings, I need to find somebody who likes receiving spankings. Okay, easy enough. The structure of it. Find out how they like their body being handled. Find out where I like to go in that space, in that head space. Have a small spanking scene. Hopefully that makes both of you happy. Take it from there.
Right.
I think all relating, no matter how complex or weird it seems from the outside, is basically built on that complementary relationship between two people. That one person enjoys being on this side of it, and the other person enjoys being on that side of it. It is very parallel in that sense to traditional ballroom dancing. It's the same dance, only two partners are doing complementary steps.
So one is leading and the other one's following.
One is leading and following, yeah.
It's very much like that.
Yeah.
And as a dom is responsible, right? So there's a piece
Everyone's
to that.
responsible. Everyone is responsible.
That's something you mentioned the other night, was that there's responsibility on both sides.
Absolutely.
And I think for the most part, you know, the reason for safe words, and we'll broach that in a moment, but the reason for safe words is so that everybody can be responsible. The sub is responsible.
Responsibility is a much bigger conversation. It comes in much earlier than safe words.
Okay.
So
well, let's start. Let's start at the beginning with that then. As far as personal responsibility between the sub and the dom.
All right. Well, the best way I can say is before you enter a scene, you're both at 100% responsibility. You have shown up there deliberately. You want to do this play with this particular person. You are communicating clearly. You are laying down your boundaries. You're expressing what your get off is. And as you move into a scene, the best way I have found of describing it is that the submissive stays at 100% responsibility and the dom moves to 200% responsibility.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So in my book, it is not that the submissive abandons responsibility and the dom assumes responsibility. You're still responsible for your experience, even if you're a submissive. Even if you're going into a very deep subspace, you're still there deliberately. You're still there awake enough that you can call your safe words at any moment. You still know you have complete volition.
Yep.
You are still taking responsibility for whatever happens in the scene, even if it goes bad.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Not every scene works. Especially when we're exploring, when we're going in new areas, things may not work. Things may not work right away. You may find something that's not your cup of tea. But you may want to explore deliberately. And if you're going to do that, even as a submissive who is going to be in a more of a receptive position, you should remain at 100% responsibility for your experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's a better way to play. And then why does the dom need to go to 200% responsibility? Well, because the submissive is going to start giving up control.
Right.
As he or she moves into a scene, starting probably with the control of one's body in as simple a scene as, let's say, rope bondage, being blindfolded and being tied up. You're kind of handing over your body to somebody else. And for that to work well, somebody needs to really step up, be bigger, hold a space where you feel they've got me. Right?
Right.
Stepping into that space of they've got me, I think is one of the most beautiful transitions that happens between a dom and a sub. It's like the scene starts when you feel that shift has happened. But the dom has kind of created that space and the sub has surrendered into it.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And then the scene begins to take off from there, and whatever happens as...
To me, that's like the essence of the scene. From there, you could just hold each other for 5 minutes in that archetype and you would still probably get a journey. That container to me is what DS is. All the play happens within that container. If you don't have that container, I think you're just playing with toys, which you may like, which may create some nice sensations.
Yeah.
But I think you're foregoing a bulk of the experience that's possible in this dynamic. And that really involves one person creating a bigger space for the other person to surrender into.
You see, that's an interesting concept of creating a container. And just like any other container, right, there's something to be held within it. But there's also this safety from the outside, right? There's this, what's the word I'm looking for? There's this buffer zone that has this space be extremely safe for both the dom and the sub. And that
I'm not quite sure what buffer space you're talking about.
Well, just the container, like putting together in context a container or what you're setting yourself up for as a scene. The word scene really is a container word,
right?
As far as I'm concerned.
But I think the two people are building that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything else is really involved in it. Maybe some privacy, but I mean that's kind of
right. Yeah.
It's the agreement between two people that to me is the foundation of the container.
Okay, so the agreement is the container. It builds the container.
The agreement, the clarity, staying at your, holding on to your at least your 100%, 200% responsibility, being responsible for your experience, taking responsibility for your emotions about whatever may come up in a scene.
Right.
To me, that holds a clean, solid container, so two people can come and really play and explore.
That's important. Yeah. And then the sub I would love for you to talk a little bit about just the concept that you had spoken about the other day, about there being consent, which is the natural, like consent and not consent.
Right.
And that was so brilliant.
Yeah, I think the idea, like word consent, it's going around a lot these days. There's a lot of distress on college campuses as one area where consent is being actively discussed. There's a lot of trauma happening there, bad experiences happening there. People are trying to sort it out, and the word consent keeps coming up: consent, non-consent, consensual sex, and so it's a big conversation. It's absolutely the cornerstone of DS play, in my opinion. If it's not in full powerful consent, you're setting yourself up for breakdowns and disaster. So, and consent is not, I don't even know where to start with this. So let me just say a few of the things I say in my workshop. If you're in hesitation, you're not entirely in consent. If you're in reluctance, you're not in consent. If you're wallowing in your doubt, you're not in consent. If you can't be waffling and give consent. Right. Your consent needs to be crisp. Your consent needs to be powerful. That yes needs to be such a solid yes that I can believe it clearly, that I can believe that if you were in a no, your no would be just as solid.
Yeah.
I can trust your yes. I can trust your no. I know your yes is a full yes. And if it were not a full yes, make it a no.
Right.
Don't say maybe. Don't say okay. I think so.
Fine.
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
That's not consent.
Yeah.
That's disaster. That is disaster waiting to happen. That is not 100% responsibility. So if you need a clearer definition, when you're at 100% responsibility for your yes, when you're at 100% responsibility for your experience, you're in solid consent.
Awesome.
Anything short of that, the more short of that you are, the more room you're leaving for disaster. Yeah, it's almost like a gap in your system. You're basically sliding the window open and saying, disaster is invited through this gap because I'm not at 100% consent. I'm not at 100% responsibility for my experience, for my participation, for the information that I'm giving, all of it.
Wow. That's powerful. So in especially in the world of, where there's going to be some activities that will obviously cause pleasure and some may cause pain, but being a full yes to the experience of it all, and it may be no pain. It may just be, being tied up, and some people react to being tied up. Right. So that has to be
consent.
A full yes.
Consent is not. It does not disregard your safe words.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's not like you give consent and that's it. The train's left the station. You can take back your consent at any point. That is part of the structure of consent. You're not giving it once and for all. You're saying it from here on forward, going into the scene. I give my consent, and I can take it back at any point. Right.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's a word that's used in BDSM in just in the world, but the world of play, or calling it play. So why call it play? Why not call it work? Or why not call it,
I think because, again, the wisdom behind the word play and the scene is actually very useful. We use the same words in acting and improv. The deeper truth is BDSM is just theater.
Okay.
It isn't, it is entirely created. It is a scene. It is a scene created by agreement.
Right.
It is a journey two consenting adults are taking of their own volition.
Right.
It isn't something that's like happening out there. No, you're making it happen. You're participating in it, and as soon as you start participating in it, it disappears, just like a scene, just like a little piece of improv you might be doing together. It is play. It is playful.
Yeah.
It is fun. And if you want to continue the analogy towards acting can get very real.
Oh, yeah.
And to make it real, to make it true, you actually have to dig into yourself, and sometimes in very dark places, depending on what's called for in the moment, depending on what your character or the moment is calling for. So is it true or is it false? It's kind of both. It is a structure, it is invented, it is deliberate, it is created by design, and it offers you the opportunity to go to some very genuine places within yourself.
Oh, that's deep, man. And at the same time, playful.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I mean, actors get asked this all the time. If you're fond of watching some of those interviews with actors, how much of it is you that you bring to your characters, especially the actors who play dark roles get asked that.
Yeah.
Right. And truth is all of it, truly. Well, where else would you get it from?
That's true.
To some degree. It doesn't mean you are that villain.
No.
But we have a very, our humanity is very wide and deep. We all have access to many places. That doesn't mean we live that or we do it unconsciously or forcefully, but we know what that space is.
Yeah.
We have access to it.
That's interesting.
And having access to it can, create a lot of heat. It can be fun.
Oh yeah, it can be fun. The word archetype is another one of those words that I've heard you use.
Right.
And I like it, but I'd like you to define it a little bit.
It's a little bit tricky to define. I mean, I would have to open up my Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung and try to read you his definition.
Okay.
In the simplest terms, you can define it as a role. A teacher is an archetype. A king is an archetype. A servant is an archetype. Even the president is an archetype. So it is a position, but it is a very complex and deep position, and we incorporate these within ourselves. We have many of them. If you're a father, the father is an archetype.
Right.
Yeah. But being a father means many, many things. Obviously.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Right. And if you start examining, tell me what a father does, you're like, I can't sum it down for you. It's huge.
Yeah.
Depends on the day, depends on the child, depends on the semester, depends on what the hell's going on in the house.
Right.
So I think each archetype is very rich that way. And these positions of the dominant and the submissive, they are very, very rich. They have many facets. So it feels complete and good to refer to them as archetypes.
I like it, yeah.
Yep.
And the Dom is an archetype. The father figure would be an archetype, or and you can play many, I guess, roles during your play, based on agreement again.
Yes.
And what are some of the type of agreements that you recommend? So going into it, and I know it's personal based and everything else, but but approaching the agreements is what I really mean. How would you approach the agreement with someone?
Between a dom and a sub for a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Well, usually you start with, again, agreement is a very, very big topic, so I don't want to give the impression I'm giving you a comprehensive answer here.
No.
But if two people are coming together and they're simply interested in having a scene around a particular turn-on they have, one person likes flogging, one person likes being flogged, something like that, and they want to have a flogging scene.
Yeah.
Well, the procedure I think would be very similar, which is talk, share, communicate. That may not sound very exciting, but without that, you are going to get into trouble.
Right.
So yeah, communicate and over-communicate. Really be truthful about who you are, what you want, where you're coming from, how much experiences you have had, and what is it that you want to create here. What experience are you looking for? What journey are you looking for?
And do you recommend like a time limit, or do you recommend?
There is such wide variety in this realm of what people do. I don't have any specific prescription for people for how to play.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, my only wholehearted suggestion and recommendation would be truthful, be clear, make solid agreements, have powerful consent, and within that, your consenting adults go wherever you want.
Yeah.
I'm all for people creating games that freak me out. I love to see those things.
Yeah.
Our humanity is so wide, our desires are so wide. I have absolutely no desire to give anybody any kind of a prescription or a box to play in.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, that really does give people the freedom to kind of be and do whatever they want,
right.
Within those agreements.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to BDSM, there are a lot of books out there, like 50 Shades of Grey and some other. And I think there are a lot of people that were really enamored with the Christian Grey and Anastasia Steele story.
Right.
And, how close is that to really truly what BDSM is, or what the Dom-Sub relationship is like?
So overall, I think, first of all, I've just read the first one. I didn't feel like reading the other two. But I kept hearing about this book so much. When it showed up at the checkout counter at my my pharmacy store at Duane Reade in New York, I felt maybe I should read this book. because it doesn't happen too often that a BDSM book ends up at the checkout counter of your local drugstore.
Yeah, that's true.
I read the first one. I haven't read the other two. The book is, if you were to look upon it as a guide to BDSM, that is extremely troubling. Please do not. The book is mired in the premise that people who do this are defective.
Right.
People who do this are compensating, are simply off track, which I think is a huge disservice. It is something that the media is still it is a very convenient point. It kind of reinforces the shame and the misperception.
Well, that's what you mentioned when we first got started was, what's wrong? People have it that what's wrong with you? Why did you decide on BDSM? It's like
for my get off, for
right.
my pleasure, to expand my sensual palate, because it works, because it generates heat.
Have you I'm sure you have, but just the experience of seeing relationships completely transformed, and include maybe marriages saved by being able to open up into a world of play like this. Have you seen anything like that?
I can certainly promise you that I have seen people's lives improve. I'm not going to promise that it saved their marriage or something. I think if your marriage is in trouble, BDSM probably is not the answer. There are other problems in relationships, and long-term relationships are challenging. So if I see a couple that shows up to my place and they have a stack load of problems, if they have been in resentment and anger towards each other for a long time and they want to learn BDSM, I would actually gently turn them down or try offering them coaching in the areas where they're stuck.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is a deeper level of relating. This is a deeper level of good.
Yeah.
BDSM is not the place. You don't want to go from bad to good. That's not what BDSM is. BDSM to me is going from good to better.
Right, okay.
You have to be in a good space with each other. You have to be friendly towards each other. You have to be in a trusting place with each other. You have to be still interested in getting each other off. And then this play can take you to the next level. Okay. But if you are up, dire straits in your friendliness towards each other, in your trust, if there's been betrayal, then that, I don't think learning spanking or rope play is going to save the day.
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's a very good point.
Not only that, I think it's actually disastrous to offer people DS coaching. I think it's actually irresponsible, because all the issues they have with each other are going to show up like there's a headlight shining on them. Because if you have trust issues, they're going to show up in spades once you go into DS play. Because it requires a higher level of trust. Yeah. If you have a bad time communicating, if you fear sharing your desires with your partner, you won't tell them your true desires in DS play, then what are you going to create together? So it's like it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
If you don't have a foundation of honesty and friendliness, this is like taking that honesty and friendliness to the next level.
So start with good.
Start with good.
And go better.
Then we can add.
Yeah.
We can make it better.
Because bad's not going to go bad to good.
The best candidates are people who are, as I say, they are really loving towards each other. They care deeply about each other. They want to make each other happy, but they've kind of almost lost the knack. They used to rely on spontaneity. Things just used to happen, and they don't know how to do it. Those are great candidates to learn some new tricks.
Well, I'll tell you something personally. Some of the stuff I love about BDSM is the outfits.
Yeah, I myself am not much into outfits. I'm probably one of the very few doms who might go to a DS convention and just not even change from the clothes I'm wearing. So I love seeing other people in their outfits, but I think I don't know. I'm totally cool with that. I'm not saying it can help people step into their archetypes. It's really fun. It's really hot.
Yeah.
But clothes don't make the man all the time. So
yeah, that's true.
You should not assume everyone with a leather vest is a skilled dom.
That's true.
I've seen otherwise.
Well, and that's the thing, I think, where we heard some shares about people that have, I don't want to be careful here because I don't want to give away, but I got to hear a share where, there are these quote unquote DOMs that are out there on the internet that are just want to, hey, I want to spank you or beat you or some shit like that.
I hear a lot of horrible terror stories. It breaks my heart. People come to me, single people come to me, couples come to me, they're exploring, they've given each other permission to explore, and their first foray seems to be, going online, finding a website and meeting people, and there seems to be a lot of people with a lot of bad ideas about what DS play is.
Mm.
The scariest part to me are the DOMs who think that being a DOM is just about having license. They think this is like license to hurt, just like James Bond has license to kill. And to me, that shows an alarming disrespect for who the submissive is. Because from their perspective, the submissive is basically someone really weird and broken who just likes abuse.
That's their perspective.
That's their perspective.
Yeah.
And then the conversation they have is like, don't you like being abused? I'll abuse you. I'll slap you around. I'll do horrible things to you. I'm like, and then people who are new to this play, they're almost like traumatized by these interactions. They come out and say like, is this what DS play really is about? I don't know yet. I'm just starting to explore.
Yeah.
Is it just about me handing myself over to whatever somebody wants to do to me? And I'm like, no, it isn't. It isn't. Right. But I think those are some many bad ideas about DS play that are out there in our world today.
Yeah, and you discuss that in your program too, and in the book.
Right.
I think you had mentioned that you talk about this in your book.
Well, my first book actually is not about BDSM. Interestingly, it's more about all the relationship glitches I see couples getting into. I feel I need to talk about that before I can actually get into the how-to of BDSM.
That makes sense.
Try and help people come to a good space.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it starts with a relationship anyway.
Right. I think it does. I think it starts with friendliness. It starts with two people really wanting to get each other off.
Yeah.
And being able to, the test of it will always come when it doesn't work. The test of it will always come at the end of a bad session, bad scene.
Yeah.
Bad scenes are the real test of how solid your consent is, how solid of a player you are. Can you pick up the pieces? Can you stay friendly? Can you continue to communicate? And can you move on from there?
Yeah. And, is the DOM skilled? I mean,
is the DOM skilled? Is the submissive straight? It is both people, really.
Yeah.
You don't want to put all of it on the DOM either.
No, I don't. And I'm staying with the conversation about, these DOMs that are out on the internet and they're saying things to women like, hey, I want to tie you up and beat the shit out of you or whatever they say.
Right.
And again, the last thing that we want to have happen here is for people to be emotionally, physically, or otherwise abused.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what BDSM is.
No, I mean, abuse would clearly fall in the non-consensual realm. This is not about violence. This is not about just doing whatever you want to somebody who doesn't want that done to them. This is about doing something to somebody they really want that done to you, done to themselves. This is about giving your partner what they actually want. It really isn't more complex than that. Believe it or not. All of DS play is two people trying to give each other what the other wants.
Yeah.
Giving each other get off, giving each other their turn on.
The get off. I like that. I like that term, the get off. Hashtag the get off. We're going to hashtag that.
All right.
We'll put it right here. Hashtag the get off. So I think that, for me, like I'm very new to this world. Yeah. I've really only been researching this for the last few months, say 8 months or so. And so I wasn't aware. I was aware, right, that BDSM was going on in the world. Right. But like most, I had it that it was just about, leather and spanking and, handcuffs.
It is about all that.
It is about that. Yeah. But I didn't take into account that there is, there's agreements and there's, friendliness.
There is a lot of it. And I don't want to.
Yeah.
I know we had some touched upon. There are unskilled people out there who might not be the best players. But I want to say most of the the vast majority of the people I have encountered in BDSM communities, the places I've went to, they're amazing people. They are some of the cleanest players I have encountered. Yeah, I often think that if people had that much clear conversation with a partner before a regular date, things would go a lot better for them compared to if they had the same level of communication that most people have in the BDSM community.
That's great.
I think most people I encounter actually understand consent very clearly. They understand boundaries. They understand what this is about. Yeah. They have a genuine desire to get each other off. They're good players. Yeah. I have learned I'm immensely grateful for the community I have encountered and the people I've learned from.
It truly is a community too.
It is. It is very much.
And there's several. There is a community here in Phoenix. It's actually right up the street, where they run a dungeon, And there's a lot of training. I mean, you can go onto their website and you can look up, and I'll put up the website, you know.
I think training and mentorship, I think, is so crucial. And to have that, you need community.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you know, I guess the hallmarks, I would ask you this question. What would be the hallmarks of a good Dom? And then what would be some of the recommendations you would have for subs? And
I think we touched upon that already.
Yeah, we
Dom
did.
is somebody who is genuinely interested in getting his or her sub off.
Mm-hmm. And then the sub is interested in
sub is
off.
interested in being open. Sub is
Mhm.
actually interested in surrender. Sub is interested in clear communication.
Yeah.
The sub is interested in his or her Dom winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I train people. I'm like, what can you do to be a good submissive? Give your Dom good information about how to get you off.
That's perfect.
Yeah. It's one of the most generous thing you can do.
Yeah,
If you're withholding, if you don't give any information, if you have no response, if you have no reaction, if you are the kind of sub that simply generates an air of doubt because there's no information flowing, that is probably not great for building confidence, for building rapport, for creating information so you can go further next time.
Oh man, the safe piece, I think, is one of the pieces that I think that's most important for me anyway.
What do you mean by safe piece?
Being safe in the container,
right?
Because you know you're playing a big game, right? And I kind of want to. I'm going to lead you into another question here as I say this, right?
Yeah.
So but the safety piece being the safe word and being able to utilize that, you know, many people listening to this podcast right now, they've heard of safe words,
right?
But what's the mechanical?
I think the idea of safe words scares
you know?
people too much. Truth be told, most people will tell you if you're playing well enough, if you're in full communication, safe words don't. If you are in a good scene, if you're playing with solid players, if you have good rapport, if you have clear communication, hopefully a good scene doesn't bring up safe words.
Right.
They're absolutely sacrosanct. But I think don't want to leave people the impression that every scene is about hitting limits till somebody calls red. It is not. Absolutely not.
That's
most of a good
really
scene
important.
should happen in a very happy zone where, you know, people were so in touch with each other's bodies. The Dom handled us up so well that you didn't, unless you wanted to or they wanted to have their limits pushed, that's not where the game is.
And that would be communicated anyway, right? I mean, it could be.
Which part?
Getting, take me to my limit.
Yeah, I want to discover where my yellow is today.
Okay.
So that you can deliberately go there.
Wow.
Like, keep increasing intensity till I call yellow. I want to know it. You should know it as my Dom. You can play that scene. You can play that game. Right.
Yeah, it's a very special relationship.
Right. But I mean that they shouldn't leave it kind of scary and open-ended, like every play goes on till somebody screams, calls uncle. And like it's
BDSM isn't about uncle.
Yeah, and listen, every scene isn't about going into pain. You can have very quiet, very sensual scene. You could simply have a scene of rope bondage where you lovingly, slowly, meticulously tie up your partner, give them a ride, caress their body, hold them, have them go into a very quiet space, then untie them slowly and hold them and have them come out of it. So that is a gorgeous, beautiful, lovely, complete DS scene. And it is not about people screaming their heads off, and it doesn't look like the turmoil that outsiders think DS play. DS play is about really finding a very quiet space most of the time. Vast majority of the time. When we speak of subspace is not a state of turmoil. Subspace is a very quiet, sweet space where our words leave us. We feel very contained, very present in our body. Yeah. People who do DS will say that's the kind of state that many other people are seeking in so many spiritual traditions.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the DS community is kind of holding the secrets to a lot of things that people are seeking.
That's perfect.
You can go faster and into a quiet, sweet spot in a good DS scene than you can go with years and years of meditation. So
interesting.
Use it.
Yeah, interesting.
But it requires partner play. It's not a solo.
Yeah, you mentioned that the other day.
Solo practice, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is not something
don't tie yourself up and don't do things to yourself. It's a whole different game. To me, this play is about partnership. It is
Yeah.
about one person surrendering to somebody else, one person holding a space for somebody else to surrender. That's where the game is.
That's perfect. And thank you for saying that too, because I think that was, you had mentioned that in the introduction the other day, and it really did make a difference. The people that were in that room, I don't want to give it away, but we had a very interesting experience where we got to experience the energy of, and I won't tell.
You can
I'm not
give
going
it
to.
away. You can talk about it. What's the
Okay,
big deal?
you sure?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Because
I'm
it's
here
not.
to share. I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to teach.
Well, that's fantastic, and I want people to seek you out also. And you're from New York, right?
I'm happy to give stuff away for free. What's the big deal?
Nice.
I don't have that scarcity.
So check this out. So we're in this. There we are. We're in this introduction, and by the way, you're very clear, succinct, and brilliant in your delivery, and it really landed for me. And so as I say that, we were in this share where we were able to stand in front of each other, and where I'm normally dominant, my girlfriend is submissive. We switched roles for a moment, and without talking, we were able to spend a few moments in reverse roles and as an energy. So it really felt like I was submissive in that moment and she was dominant, and I had a little trouble staying in the submissive, but it felt good.
Right.
And I didn't go deep, but there were people in that room that did.
Right.
And then you took us from that and then switched us back to Dom sub
with a small break. Yeah.
just a real small break, and then I got to experience that, and the energy was just it was pungent. It was like you could cut it, and then we came out of that, and we got to express what it was that we experienced, and one young gentleman expressed that he had such a good feeling in the sub space that it was difficult for him to go into the dom space.
Yeah, I think he really touched the sweet spot of the subspace.
He did,
Just in a standing exercise, clothes on.
Yeah.
It was merely about giving yourself permission to go into your archetype in standing in relation to someone who's going into a complementary archetype. And that's all the permission you need to access that space.
Yeah.
I think once you have that headspace, everything else happens within it. All the play happens within that headspace. Or nothing needs to happen.
Yeah.
As it happened. But, I would comment, the bigger conversation is you said you resisted going into when you were in the submissive mode. But, this comes up a lot. I think we have a lot of prejudice against a submissive archetype. It is not very popular to be submissive these days.
That's true.
It's not popular for men to be submissive. It's not popular for women to be submissive. Whereas being dominant is very lauded, praised, encouraged by mainstream society. Go get it. Be aggressive. Go after it. We have lost the art of submission, and we see it as a very inferior position. So I think it is one of the biggest charges, one of the biggest blocking blocks I see that shows up in this play.
Yeah.
It's creating a lot of confusion and turmoil in a lot of people.
Yeah, and you had mentioned, or you had really distinguished between the world or the experience of being in the world of non-consent, and I know we talked a little bit about this, but I want to flesh this out a little bit, and consent.
Yeah, in the non-consensual world, in the regular world, in the world of the daily newspaper, if you're in a submissive position, you're losing. Somebody has power over you, somebody is winning, somebody has more than you. And that is clearly a disadvantaged, non-preferred, unpreferred position to be in. Whereas, people who understand DS will know what I'm talking about immediately, but people who do not may not understand this part. But I think in DS play, being a submissive is a position of privilege, because the attention, the energy, the skills of your dom are pouring into you. The whole point is to create a journey and experience for the submissive. Yeah. We have a big section in my weekend workshop where we go into that submissive is the muse of the scene. The information you need to create a great scene will come from your submissive. So it is a cherished position. It is not the same as the loser position that it is in everyday life, in real world, where there's one winner and one loser. But most people don't have that conversation, that distinction. So
Yeah.
This is like a built-in taboo. As soon as people discover they have turn on in submission, automatically, it's almost like their brain automatically creates a taboo because
Mm-hmm.
submission is bad.
Yep.
I have turn on in submission. No good.
Yeah.
No good. Better keep this quiet.
Yeah. And
Now, how am I gonna access this? I'll get it on the sly.
Yeah.
I will do something and not tell everybody about it. It creates shadow submissives because there isn't permission for this archetype in our society today. And we really, we have lost the skill of navigating this archetype.
Mm.
We think it is weaker. It isn't. Not in the realm that we are discussing today.
Yeah.
It is absolutely an equal archetype, both of them. They're just positions.
See, and that's what I got clear on was that a lot of the reason why I don't, or I feel like I didn't prefer or don't prefer being submissive is because of that distinction.
I think that's why I encourage people in my workshops, at least at the beginning level, when these exercises are so G-rated, where it's simply about standing across from a partner and giving yourself permission to go into one archetype and then the other, to kind of explore both sides, to feel it out, because the charge against being a submissive is so great. People push back on even feeling, do I enjoy this? Do I have get off in this area? Especially if they're just coming into this exploration.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And there is a I think there's kind of a healing piece to it, being able to play in a world where there's trust, there's honor, there's space for whatever arises, and there's great communication agreement.
There's place to express your true desires, which I think people don't have. Just period. Yeah. They don't have permission to express their desires most of the time.
So you have a website.
I do. And my website, my day job is I'm a photographer. So the website you will go to will show you my gorgeous pictures.
Awesome.
My teaching website is under construction. It should be ready pretty soon. I'll create a link from one to the other.
Okay. So, and the website is Omrupani.com. We're going to go ahead and put it up here for a moment. And we should be able to see it now. Yeah, there it is. And so in navigating that website, you're going to get a lot of information about Om and what he does as a photographer. But keep an eye on this because that's going to, obviously it's going to link back to your coaching site and to your book when it gets published. Do you have a release date on that?
I'm still writing, I think, 2 more months, and I should have a draft.
Awesome. Do you have a name for it? Have you named it?
Yeah, it's called Prerequisites to Ecstasy.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah,
that's
I feel I need a prerequisites, which are the relational pieces people need before we can really start the hands-on journey, before I can really teach people hands-on play. If the relational pieces are not in place, nothing else happens.
That's fantastic.
So this book has kind of come out of the repeated conversations I've had with my coaching clients. I'm like, if I'm having these same conversations with people to get them ready to play, obviously there's a need for this conversation too. Yeah.
And you do coaching now.
I do.
And so can they reach out to you on your website?
They can.
And get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Your email is all up there.
Yeah.
And what is your email? Just we'll put it up on the screen.
It's just mail, M-A-I-L, @omrupani.com.
Is there a new one?
Should we give them the teaching one? Okay.
Yeah.
The teaching one, we've set up a different email. Send it to that one. omrupanids@gmail.com.
Okay. And spell your name out. O-M.
O-M, R for Robert, U, P for Paul, A-N-I.
Okay. Sounds good. Perfect.
Right.
So, and we'll make sure that people get forwarded over to you, and then we'll make sure that we put a link in underneath the YouTube channel so that we'll be able to forward people over to you. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming in and talking about really what your passion is, and obviously I would love to talk to you about photography at some point.
Okay.
But and on not on the sly either. I definitely am interested in your coaching program. So I think I'll reach out to you after this, and and we'll try to figure something out. It'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So anything else you want to share with our listeners, with our viewers?
There's a lot of bad information about this realm. If you could just wash your brains of everything you think you know, that'd be great. This is for people who have not sought any real education, not sought any hands-on education. Everything you've probably seen in the media about DS is wrong. I recently watched this wonderful show, Billions. Brilliant actors. I love Paul Giamatti. I love Damian Lewis. The depiction of DS in that thing is still doing a great disservice. In the end, the fact that this couple does DS is being held as blackmail material because they know it can ruin their lives. So I'm like, we are reinforcing the shame.
Yeah.
The fact that these people this is a married couple, no less, that a married couple does this can be held against them to blackmail them. And I'm like, wow, this is just perpetuating the shame. I think in retrospect, when we look back, yeah, we will see that we were doing this, but hopefully that day is not here yet. But when I think people in the DS community see it, we kind of feel the twinge. Like, this is so much reinforcing that only damaged people, crazy people do this, and they should be judged for it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, damaged people are not the norm for this. I'm sure there are damaged people.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our
We
stuff.
have judgments. It's all right. It's a journey.
It is. All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate
pleasure.
it. I appreciate you
Thanks for
coming
having
in.
me.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Omrupani. And like I said, if you're interested in DS and if you're interested in BDSM and really getting the truth about how this can benefit you and how you can implement it into your life, reach out to him. You're going to want to go to omrupanids@gmail.com. All right. Thanks again, man. Appreciate you having you here.
Absolutely.
Great.
Decoding visionaries and subcultures. The Edge Podcast with Mike G is brought to you by the following sponsors. Thank you for your support.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
Cause I'm the type of nigga that's built to last. If you fuck with me, I put my foot in your ass. See, I don't give a fuck cause I keep belling. Yo, what the fuck are they yelling?
Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to